Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about higher education, but not in computer science. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what is your opinion of someone like the commenters below who has a higher education degree but not in computer science? Perhaps they have some CS courses from universities under their belt, but actually trained to think analytically in another field of knowledge altogether. For example, would you hire a junior programmer who has a PhD in history? Does this demonstrate to you enthusiasm, the ability to learn and stick with it, to sticking with things, or would you consider someone like that flaky and likely to give up on software development after a few years, since they already changed paths so radically once before? Uh, I would say that what usually is true is that the software developers that you work with are going to, and the companies that you work for, are going to fall into one of two categories. You're going to have the people who have a sensation of pride or a prejudice against you, and then you're going to have the people who don't give a shit. And the one common denominator between the two is usually that as long as you can do the work, you're fine. So I worked with people like today I work with one developer. I think he has an education background in media studies or something like that. I think he was a journalist before he became a software developer, and then he learned by himself how to do software engineering, and now he works just alongside with me and he produces code just as anybody else. The most, I would argue, at least one of the most highly valued software developers that I work with he has an education background in biological engineering or something like that. He spent several years working as a QA before he became a software developer. So the thing is that most of the time it doesn't really matter what education background you have, because as I've said to you guys before, the the piece of paper you have that says that you know computer science or you know psychology or whatever you know, it's really in the IT world that thing only matters for the first few jobs. First job for sure. But once you have about 1 to 5 years of experience, that's the thing that is going to take its place. The education is nice to see, and some companies do care, but the vast majority of them are not going to give two shits about where you were educated if you have proven that you know how to do the job that they're going to hire you to do. That's how the world works for the most part. Nobody really cares about things that are irrelevant to the goal that they want to have achieved. And the goal of the company isn't to hire you so that you can teach or tell them about how you learned whatever it is that you learned. They are looking for you to do work, to make things happen. And if you can do that, that's the only thing that really matters to them. There are absolutely people who has, both at the hiring level and at a coder level, a certain prejudice, and there, because you should be aware of that in software development, as in many different academic inclined industries, anything that has a hierarchy, there's going to be some people who think about prestige and things like that. And sure, you can absolutely be judged for this sort of choice where you used to be one thing and then you become something else, because for some reason there are people in the world who really either believe that it's really important that you get everything right on the first try, or they are so unfulfilled and so one dimensional that they would rather stick with one thing for the rest of their life than do any, than basically look around and see if there's other stuff that's going on. I can't even imagine a person who goes through their entire life without ever trying something different or ever getting bored. I mean, in a way, I'm happy for them, because if you can be truly happy for the rest of your life doing one and only one thing, that's great. but I don't think that we should judge people for for realizing that, hey, as an example, I thought that history was really cool, but now I want to try something else. We like go for it. Like, you mean shit? If you could learn history, if you can get a PhD in history, I'm pretty sure you can become a software developer. Uh, I'm pretty sure you should be able to do that. So what I want you to take away from this is that for the most part, people they don't really care what your education background is as long as you can do the job. You might find that for the first job, the education that you have is going to factor in. So if you do have irrelevant education, I mean, it does show a level of enthusiasm if you have a PhD or like a bachelor's or a master's or something like that in something that isn't computer science related. So it is a good thing, but you don't hold it up as if it is as valuable as a computer science course, just to be safe. That doesn't mean that people won't value it. It's just it's just something that you should be aware of. That usually people are more excited about relevant experience. But as I said, once you get some work in, you have a few years under your belt, that degree it matters for absolutely nothing. You can frame it on your wall, nobody's going to care. The only thing that's going to matter is, do you have proof that you know how to do this job? Because that's the thing that the companies are looking for, and that's the thing that is so hard to come by. It's really easy. I mean, you can spit in the air and land on somebody who has some quote unquote coding experience, but finding someone who has professional grade experience within a software is like, it's really tough. There's not that many people who really know how to work and like can actually do the work in the same way as most companies wants the job done. And lastly, remember that there are people who are going to be elitist. There are people who are going to look down on you. They're going to look down on you for all kinds of stuff. Everything from your education background to how fast you are to what, as you said, like what school you went to, and they will look down on you for if you're a front-end developer or you're a back-end developer or you're not a DevOps person or you don't know this tool or that tool. There's people all around who are going to try to make your day a little bit more shitty just because they need that in order to satisfy their ego. And I suggest you do the thing that I like to do, which is to be better better than them. Keep on working, keep your nose to the grindstone, keep develop your skills to a point where you don't even fucking care anymore. Their words are so petty you don't even feel it anymore. That feels much, 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 much better. Trust me, it takes a little while, but once you get there, it's almost laughable how silly these people are. Have a great day.